Buddy, here I am. Apologies here. Stepping in the door a little late virtually. Daughter had decided she wanted to be a NASCAR racer over the last couple of days and caught her on the Life 360 app. So anyone who doesn't know what that is, that's how you catch your kids. That's how we all would have been locked up when we were younger if our parents had Life 360. So I got my car back for the day, and then I left my computer in it, and then the car disappeared. But anyway, thank you everyone for joining us. I see we got TC with us. Thanks for checking in, TC. And then we got Shane out of the Wake County area. I think this might be Shane's first meeting with us. And then I'm seeing some other familiar faces as well. And then I think William's been with us before. I don't know if that's a new photo that might be up. Yeah, I think I recognize Mr. Bess as a regular, but if not, welcome. What we're talking about today here with the North Carolina Educator UAS cohort. So welcome to all of our members. Welcome to all new members. The cohort itself is an extension of the NCBCE, the North Carolina Business Committee for Education, which is all about connecting businesses with the educators and the schools across the state and helping to really define those opportunities and pathways. And why is it important for us to educate our students, especially on, these emerging technologies with drones? It's because the businesses in this state are actually looking for individuals with this type of knowledge and with this type of expertise and skills and certification for anybody who's helping students get certified. So that is who we are. That is what we're all about. Jeff Epps, who I don't see on the call today, got to shout him out. Huge part of help driving this forward. But today we're going to talk about drones in North Carolina. And I'm really excited that TC was able to jump on this call because I want to give him the opportunity. And what I really want to do too is to give the folks that are joining us the opportunity to ask questions about drones in North Carolina. What have you heard about drones? How have you heard drones are being used? What questions might you have about drones specifically in your community? And what questions might you have about drones in the in your school system? TC, if you're available, I see you jumped on the chat here. But if there's something, if you're available, even via just audio, if there's something that you would want to share, I'm sure there's probably a list of 5 things, and throughout this hour, hopefully we can get you to share more than one of them. But to kind of like get the conversation started, is there one thing that, or not, is there, what is the one thing in regards to drones in the state of North Carolina that you think each person on this call, if they don't already know it, if they're not already aware of it, what would that one thing be? It could be an operation, it could be a company, it could be a school, it could be anything. TC, it's like, you there?
Hey, yeah, can you hear me?
Going once.
Can you?
Yes, I can hear you.
On mute.
Okay. Yeah, I decided to do it through the phone.
I apologize. My computer was on mute, TC. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. No, I guess that's kind of like a open-ended question. So I think I can just sort of shoot from the hip on that. I think the thing I've observed, especially through my former role at DOT, was, there's a lot of folks that are kind of going in the same direction with drones, and a lot of education work going on there with the schools, in addition to kind of outside groups. And this group, I think, is a great way to sort of bring all the educators and trainers together, and folks that are interested in kind of heading in one direction. I guess it's not a unique problem. You know, it's just hard to, I wish everybody interested in this space like knew of what's going on here, and to have that kind of mutual voice, because you know, I think several of us are heading in the same direction, you know, and it would benefit from that. So my new role at Guilford Technical Community College, they're just sort of dipping their toes into the drone market, and so I see significant horsepower with integrating with the local schools, you know, as a result of that, and seeing that move forward. You know, I know we mentioned the drone soccer idea. I think it's great, and some of the competitions and that sort of thing. So I believe that's what is kind of on my mind. But if you want to drill down a little more specific, happy to answer that too. Any questions thereof too.
Okay, no, that's good. And then meanwhile, where you were talking, we had Elton Stone. We're speaking of drones in North Carolina, kind of more specifically today, whether it's operations, whether it's education, whether it's research, development, just trying to expose the cohort members to what we think they might know. Some of them might already know of it, some of them might not. But don't want to put you on the spot, Elton. But if you can, if you don't mind introducing yourself. I don't think we had, have you been able to connect with the cohort before, Ellen? I don't think so.
No.
Absolutely. Okay. So we've had Dr. Rawad on before. So he's kind of introduced the program from the, you know, the big picture level. But what I want, Ellen Stone is with Elizabeth City State University, senior lecturer in their UAS degree program. So please, Ellen, just to kind of introduce yourself. And what we're talking about today is just drones specific to the state. So besides Elizabeth City State University, if there's any other thing just that you find super interesting that's happening in the state that you think the members should know, please feel free to share that in addition to introducing yourself.
Well, let me get the introduction. And I know TC and I know you, so good to see you guys again. I'm Elton Stone. I'm with Elizabeth City State University. I am actually an aviation and UAS lecturer with the floor. We actually have 2 full-time instructors with the UAS program teaching 5 courses, from UAS history certification, which I'm teaching now, all the way up to agriculture using a multi-spectra. We're actually using several different types of drones right now, using Typhoon Unique, using the Telos for the training. We actually have a little optional course we're working on. We have actually bought a BFD SE, which is a pretty big, about comparable to the Matrice 600, which we have too. And we have on order right now, an Alti, it's a 14-foot wingtip to wingtip, and we'll be flying that eventually. But we're actually, and we actually have a drone van. So with that, we're actually coupled with emergency management, and we're actually trying to get our program a lot more adapted to what's going on in the state. We're opening up a netting facility, which will be open up in July. So it'll be open to the public. And just some of my background, I'm a retired Navy Chief Petty Officer, sheet metal mechanic, and an airframe and power plant mechanic. Given that, I am actually starting to work on some maintenance procedures that we can use with drones. How about that, Paul? Was that quick enough?
Yeah, that's phenomenal. That's exciting. I mean, even hearing that you guys, one thing we've always tried to talk about and introduce the educators to is not just like the low hanging fruit, but we've talked about the fixed wing and the long endurance aircraft. And it's really exciting to hear that Elizabeth City State University is integrating that, and especially because you guys have that rich history in manned aviation. So operating complex aircraft is nothing new to Elizabeth City State University. As Ellen mentioned, they're doing crewed or manned aviation training, right? So if you have students that become fascinated in aviation through drones, and that's what's really most exciting about the drone technology, is you can't bring an airplane into the middle school classroom, right? You can't get every student into that airplane, but you can bring that Tello drone, which most of our cohort members have, that joined us in our initial group of 60. You can take that little Tello into the classroom and you can get the students excited. You can talk about yaw, you can talk about thrust, you can talk about airspace. And we were talking with folks in Moore County today, and it was like, yeah, we got these high school drone programs, but how do we prep the students, right? And it's like, you've got to get into the middle school. You got to find a way to get that knowledge and that foundation established. And then just now speaking, it's like, here's Elton, sitting at Elizabeth City State University with these courses and offerings and opportunities for high school students. So why are the kids, taking these classes in high school? Why is the technology important? Well, now that opportunity exists with the university system to go on. And the netting facility that you guys did get the approval for is absolutely amazing. For the folks that aren't familiar with this, and it's a great point. I think that's a good fun fact that you shared. So for the cohort members, what ECSU is putting up is a giant outdoor netting. It's like a big netted area. What's the dimensions of it, Ellen?
It's 250 by 100 by 50 tall.
By 100, so 250 long. So it's almost like a football field, a little smaller than the size of a football field, with a net around it and above it. That's what, 150 feet high?
No, it's 50 foot tall.
Oh, 50 foot tall, which is plenty high, right? So you have this giant area where you can take drones, you can get students, you can get research, you can be testing technology, and you can safely operate in this netted area, knowing that if there was any sort of, abnormal issue occurrence, if there was an emergency, what they call in the industry as a fly away, right? When that drone just kind of stops taking input from the operator, that vehicle is going to remain within that netted area. It's not going to take off. It's not going to interact with the general public. So for Elizabeth City State to be able to put in that sort of facility opens up what they'll be allowed to do, because the FAA is going to grant you permission to do a lot of things inside that netted facility that they wouldn't necessarily or otherwise let other folks do. So it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to be able to check out. And I think what it is something that will end up becoming a little bit of a Mecca type pilgrimage location for drone students, operators, and educators within our state. Like, again, Elton mentioned, it's going to be open to the public. So to be able to go out there and put your drone in there and say, yeah, I've been out to Elizabeth City State University and I've been able to actually, fly my drone in this facility and take part in, what is history for the first in-flight state. Anything you wanted to add, Elton, or?
Along with that drone netting facility, we were actually, I was just looking at the plans. I'm actually working on the classroom and the meeting area, which is going to be out to the side. So I'm incorporating a lot of little things that if we actually came up and had drone races out here, or some DRL, that's my plan, that's my objective. But another reason why we're getting the drone netting facilities is because we're within 5 miles of the regional airport, and it's just it just worked out for us. Thank God we got a couple grants that helped us out this year.
And that's a great point that you make, because you can't always pick. I mean, at this point for schools, you don't have any option in picking your location. So one of those challenges, and a great point that you made, Ellen, is the reason they've introduced this again is for safety. That nearby airport, now when you say we're going to be operating our drone, can we have permission to operate within 5 miles? We're going to be operating in this safety environment. They're like, yes, go ahead, put the drone up, because you're reducing and almost eliminating risks that would interfere with manned aviation. So thanks for making that point. There's someone, did someone have a question or comment?
Yes. In the chat, April put a question in about, does Elizabeth City State have a program where someone who already has a 4-year degree can become drone certified? Say maybe a teacher who wants to become drone certified.
Well, yeah, I can cover that. I am now teaching the UAS 200 course where I'm going through every statute we had to teach the Part 107. I have 20 students in that class right now. So my main goal and objective right now is to get through this one course and then get it online so we can offer it out. But we were only going to offer probably 3 classes online. That would be a history, the UAS 200, the Part 107, and maybe 1 sensor class for that. But we're looking for other classes right now to start formulating. So those teachers out there that have that teaching skill can get better trained.
I have good afternoon, everyone. I have a question regarding the do we have any offer the funds or grants in the classrooms so we can buy more drones? I have only 1 drone, so the kids are exciting for doing all these.
That's a great question. Can you pronounce Srinivas?
Yeah, Srinivas. Yeah.
Okay, I know we've sent out the emails since 2020, and I recognize,
Yes.
100% recognize your name. And I think that's something that we may have discussed in the past, Morgan, though, is this idea of, we've got these initial members who've gotten like their 1 drone and identifying potential grants and things like that in ways to help our active cohort members like increase their fleet sizes. Because like you said, if you have 16 kids, 20 kids in a class with 1 drone and 3 batteries, that gets the excitement. But now to break it down and do some of the things that we've laid out here in the cohort, you need 4 or 5 drones and kind of 20 batteries in order to break those students down. What I would say is 100%. If that was directed right towards Elton, he might already have something that he might support. I will pull. I think we need to maybe even have a conversation openly about grant opportunities for cohort members and kind of lay out what we have seen work in the past. And then also Jeff Epps, who's our wizard, or I wouldn't say our wizard because it's not mine. I guess for the cohort though, Jeffrey Epps, who you've probably seen on previously with Emerald City, that's really one of the things that he's done extremely well through his nonprofit, is working with those educators to help them, 1, find the grants, and then 2, figure out like what wording, what should I be writing and how can I submit this? Because for the telos and Elton can speak to this. And I see we've got Randy who joined us. You don't need tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, you're looking for maybe a grant for $500 or $1,000.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I want to say we will continue to connect with you, Srinivas. Srinivas. I'm going to continue to try to say it just because I'm going to practice.
The kids are I teach special needs. They're exciting. Every time your drone go up, they are just clapping hand. They're just happy. And now they started with the inches. Now the drone can go like, almost like when we go outside, like a half mile. It's going like a real good.
Well, that's phenomenal. And I think that if anyone else has anything to add, Morgan or Elton, if not, that's a great question. We'll make sure that we continue to address it.
Thank you.
We're currently working on a grant that's supposed to cover middle schools in North Carolina, but we're still working on it. And our goal is to give every school 2 drones, but just to keep you updated on that. And as long as you're connected with Paul, you'll probably find out as soon as we get that working out, we'll pass it out.
Thank you.
And then the one other thing I'd mention is TC. I don't know something here. I know the DOT has the, I don't know the deadline. I'm going to try to find the link, but the NCDOT was putting out grants that were like up to $2,000. And it was so that educators could put camps on. Like if you were able to do a 1 week or a 2 week camp for aviation, the DOT was providing like little mini grants of up to $2,000. And if you want, if you have anything to add to that, TC.
Yeah, and since I've moved on from DOT, I can brief you on what little I know about it. So basically, the grants were directed at groups specifically, and now I think they want to direct those funds to the local airport. So the local airport basically applies for the funds, and I think kind of the idea was give them the opportunity to sort of interface with the local community. So if they don't want to conduct the camp themselves, they can partner with those local groups. So like for instance, the Interbank STEM Center at Little Washington, you know, that the airport can control those funds and then work with them to fund their camp. So I do believe, I think the funding amounts they were talking about a little more than the 2 to 3, but it might have gone down. You know, just have to probably follow up with Amanda Connor there at NCDOT to get that information. Or you know, and it should show up on ncdot.gov/aviation as well.
Okay, yeah, no, great.
I'll look and see if I can find that information, TC, and I'll include it on the after notes of this meeting. So I'll see what I can add to that. And that was Amanda Connor, you said, TC, if I couldn't find it?
Yeah. Yes, Amanda Connor would be the one to get up with on that. And so, yeah, I forget, I think we were trying to get, when I left, about 35,000 or so, and then spread it out across the state. So that would be a direction I think would be good. Was kind of what I wanted to see, was it spread out more comprehensively across the state. So that was okay. Looks like there is a news.
Yeah, I went ahead and shared that. And Morgan, if you want to click on that and use that, we might be able to take that and then just do an email blast to some of our members, so that the ones participating and not participating will get that email. But it looks like there's some funding. And I think you're right, TC. That is the one thing that when I read further into it, is it required that connection with the local airport, which again, I think is awesome, because even if you don't get the grant, if you at least walk out to your local airport, or pick up the phone, and if the worst, you know, if worst case scenario, you now connected with someone who works at your local airport, I mean, that's a good worst outcome. And then the best thing that could happen is, you know, you walk away with a $3,000 grant, and you're putting on a camp in your community, you know, and purchasing some equipment that you know is going to be valued long going forward. So I think that could be one avenue. But I think what we'll do, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, it says that the grant application must be in by March 7th. So just bringing everybody's attention to that date. So go ahead and look at it. And if you need any support or anything, or, I mean, as Paul said, you can reach out to your local airport, but if you need any other help, just let us know.
And if you have, this is something you want to go after, and in the next few days, you need some help getting the information to put something together. We're all busy. The point of this isn't for us to do the work for you. It's just to help everyone find the opportunities, and we'll walk through it together. And I think that's absolutely what this is. And this is something that, and I don't expect you to say yes or no, TC, but I do believe this is something that was going on last year. Aviation education, especially with the advent of drones and with what's happening at Elizabeth City State University and whereas I see we got Randy on here. So with Elon University, you know, drones in education is important, and aviation education is extremely important right now with where things are at. So these grants, I guarantee, you know, as long as the funding is there, they'll be available next year. So we know, right? Educators know it's not about planning for today and tomorrow as much as it's, you know, planning for next year and the year after that. Because once we figure this out, you know, we do it and then we can do it again, because we got new students. There's always going to be new students. There's always going to be more kids looking for these types of opportunities. And now I'm gonna, is there any, if there's no questions, I know we have the, we've got the chat here, and there's definitely some stuff going on, a little bit of conversation there, but does anybody have a question, something that they want to ask, you know, right now directly, live, while we're on? Oh, right there. I was just going to kick it to Randy too. It looks like he's checking out. Hey, thanks for tuning in, Randy. Any questions anybody has about drones in North Carolina?
Hey, Paul, if I could chime in for just a second.
100%.
Yeah, I do. Just for everybody that might be just listening, just don't forget that those applications are for the airport managers. And so depending on the airport, they might be more proactive than others. So it might not be on their radar. And if you're interested in that, reach out to the airport and go, hey, there's this, you know, grant, and would you like to partner? And here's the link, and, you know, make sure that they know to apply before the deadline. That's my 2 cents worth there. I'm going to segue into something out of left field a little bit.
Yep.
I've recently gotten into some information about anti-drone technology. Has anybody been doing anything in those realms, detection and anti-drone, as much as we love drones?
Elizabeth City State's actually working on a cybersecurity drone program right now, but it's still in the works. We've got a lot of groundwork to cover because the technology is changing so quick. So, I mean, every time I look at something, we're looking at that avenue to see what we can do to help out. But you're right, TC. We got to have more emphasis on this program. Everybody needs to start listening up.
Yeah,
and kind of what got me started. Sorry.
Go ahead. I will transition for you, TC, and I'll hand it right back to you. But when it comes to security, right, drones right now are operating on a 5.8, 2.4 frequency. So when you're connecting your remote to your drone, it's similar to a more powerful Wi-Fi network that you might have in your house. But the future, right, where drones are headed is drones that are going to be operated on the cloud, right, on a network. And just like any computer, any other device that is on this, it's susceptible to hacking and taking control, and the right protocols and policies and procedures have to be in place from a cybersecurity standpoint. And then more so with where TC is headed, or I think when you talk about the counter UAV, is the actual ability of law enforcement, military to begin to intercept these vehicles and forcefully land them. But go ahead, TC. And what is it that came up recently?
Yeah, what got me on this is I've been working with some of the public safety UAS folks doing some training, so it's been kind of fascinating being around them. And apparently, the big problem is how would you say this? Care packages being delivered to prisons, and so there is state law considering prisons that governs flight over that, but apparently they're getting pretty sophisticated, you know, flying them from miles away, FPV style, and they're wrapping them in some sort of metallic material to keep signals from being intercepted or something. I don't know. They're getting kind of creative, but so that brings in, I know there's I guess the FCC is frowning on intercepting signals at this point, so it's pretty much limited to the federal government. But there is a lot with detection and then some of the physical takedown stuff, which I personally like the Spider-Man version of the net, the shooting out the net to capture the drone. But there's some legal stuff along with that. So I was just curious. There does seem to be a lot of folks in that space already, and just kind of curious where we stand, and has anybody come across any of these? Are there any good products out there? Anyway, that's kind of where I'm thinking from an educational perspective, that should probably be on the radar.
And I think from a learning standpoint, because when these new products come out, the biggest thing is to learn, to first test and research and to know they works. And that's why, like a netting facility, right? If you're going to blast a drone with a, some kind, not blast it, but if you're going to give a command, with some kind of signal, not the remote controller, you want to make sure that that thing's going to function appropriately. So I think the door is open for a lot of research to take place. And we all know that startup companies love to go to universities because that's where you have students, that's where you can create. But I do think that there's more drones flying today than there were, any other day before this. So from a police and law enforcement, and that's where remote ID and again, privacy comes in. I'm not sure if anyone's quite figured it out. And I think that stuff's going to be strictly in the hands of kind of law enforcement. But from a student aspect, like what was super interesting as you were talking about the prisons, right, is my mind immediately started to think about a map, right? Because I know where the prison is, or the jail, prison. I don't know. I tend to try to stay out. But thinking of a map, because I do know when I'm downtown in Fayetteville, there may not be a drone detection system there that I need to necessarily worry about, but there is a local law, a local rule in place that you aren't to fly over it, right? And that I'm aware of. So I know that I don't want to be looked at. I wouldn't want my drone to be considered. So from an educational standpoint, when we talk about drones in the middle school classroom, in the high school classroom, right, it is a flying drone, but the ability to take this and use it as a way to introduce maps to students, and the importance of aeronautical charts, and what's really cool with drones is everything's pretty much on an app these days. So you can download an app, Aloft, which is being used, in the North Carolina high schools, an app like Aloft, it's going to show you where these areas are that you can and cannot fly. Some drones are going to limit where you can or cannot fly. And I think the major, most well-known drone who manufactures the most, they're going to put those limitations on their vehicle because they don't want their brand to be, a company wouldn't want their brand, their product to be associated with doing bad things. So it's like you said, a lot of these people are building their own drones, right, in order to get past some of these safety things. But knowing where you're flying, when you're flying, especially if you aren't trying to be seen as someone who's doing the wrong thing, from a drone operation standpoint, knowing your local community, knowing where you should and shouldn't be is important, because at the end of the day, it's on the operator, right? Just like a driver of a vehicle, when you're driving down a road, that speed limit sign, it's posted, right? So you can't drive past the speed limit sign going 15 miles an hour over, or, like my NASCAR daughter, and then expect to say, well, I didn't know I couldn't go that fast, right? Just like a drone operator and our students, if you're flying the drone, you're responsible for where that drone is. And if it's over a prison or a jail, someone's not going to be happy. That's a very suspicious place to be flying. So So I think even in the middle school, one of the neat things that Jeff and I have started doing is actually like, you can take those telos, put them in the classroom, and then you can even just get one of those 10 by 10 little fake city car mats where kids kind of push cars around. You can make your own, you can start to print these things. If you can get some grants, one thing that I think would be really neat is for one of these grants with the local airports is if you actually use some of that funding to print out like a state map where you had the major airports on that map. Say you had Fayetteville, you had Wilmington, you had what's in the Elizabeth City State area, I'm not sure, but you could put, I know there's one of those military bases or Elizabeth City Airport. That's what it is. And if you don't know about Elizabeth City Airport, then you have not taken the Part 107 exam because, you know, Elizabeth City, right?
5 questions on it.
5 questions about Elizabeth City State Airport. So, but imagine that, like a printout, and you had Charlotte this, and now the students, you told them, hey, program this flight. You've been cleared to fly this route from Fayetteville to here. But by printing out these maps and then having them fly the drones over them, you know, that's now you've taken it to the level where the student has no idea that they're learning geography. Right? They're learning, I think it's called cartography. But I think that's a totally different type of maps. Sometimes and he's looking at the camera like, what the heck? Sometimes I get a little ahead of myself and I just talk, and it's more for entertainment purposes, if anything.
I have a question, Paul, that relates to what you were just talking about. Is there anything available for educators, you know, to start students in middle school thinking about, I know that they do this with, you know, with AI, but thinking about the ethics of it, about the rules behind it. And like you said, if you're the drone operator, you are responsible. This is, you know, and then not just things that could cause, whether it's a citation or a legal consequence, but also what are you ethically, you know, what should you do? Like, what are things that you should do and should not do? And is that talked about? I'm assuming that at Elizabeth State that y'all do that, and TC with Guilford, but just didn't know if there's anything to help these teachers in the middle school and high school levels that they could, you know, kind of guide them to share.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say that's the trust exam. So it's the trusted recreational. You go ahead. I'm going to let Elton take this one.
It's a trust certificate. It's a little certification program that they can take that I would actually get middle schoolers, because this past summer, as soon as it came open in June, I had we give a free drone class every year for a week here at campus, room and board, and a little pitch there. But I actually give them the trust certificate test where they can go and find out about what is ethical. Should I fly over people? Can I fly at night? And that little trust certificate, which is free, is actually for all drone operators, not just people that have a Part 107.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly, as the question was being asked, that's exactly what I was thinking, is the what is it? The recreational UAS safety test. The FAA government loves their acronyms. But
here's what it looks like. If you can't, let me see if I can get this right. Little certificate.
And there's about 10 companies that you can do it at no cost. It's
Right.
no cost free. Shout out to my alma mater, is like the school that you went to, right? Is that the college that you graduated from?
Yeah.
Is that what that? Okay, good.
That's it.
I'm trying to stay with me, guys. Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. So you can do it there. I just sent the link in the chat. And the reason why I send that link is because some of the other companies that have been approved They're more of a for-profit organization. So they're going to take your email and your phone number, and they're going to then, market to you and bug you and bother you. And then their company logo is going to be on your trust certificate. Nothing against what they're doing. It's all the same. But if you're doing this as an educator and with your students, until Elizabeth City State University gets approved, right? Because then we'll go local. But if you do it through Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, they don't market to you. They only take the minimum of information, and then your trust certificate's actually going to have the ERAU logo on it. And I mean, that's even for a middle school or high schooler, it's somewhat significant because they're an aeronautical university. And it's just kind of neat, and a little bit more significant than having somebody's company logo on your trust certificate. But no matter which provider you use, all the material and questions are all the same. But that's awesome question. And then great answer, Elton, is that trust certificate. It's no cost. I've taken it myself because I wanted to learn. I wanted to know what was on it, because just like Elton recommended, this is what I'm recommending with teachers who are doing the classroom. Like if teachers are only flying indoors and they don't necessarily need their Part 107, they should still get this trust certificate, right? We've got all of our cohort members. We've encouraged from the very beginning, day one, to get your NCDOT operator permit. Why? Because that's what your students will end up having. They will get that themselves if they're going to work in this industry. So the trust certificate is a way to take your 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, even 18, anyone, even any adult, Elton and Morgan, that comes to me and says, hey, I'm interested in drones. Where should I start? Well, first I say, go to Amazon and buy this $17.99, buy this $18 book. And then 2, go get your trust certificate, because it doesn't cost anything. And it's the foundational information that you will need to build upon in order to become a remote pilot.
And you can't fail.
And you can't fail. And it costs nothing. So it's perfect. That's a great question, Morgan. And then great answer, Elton. Anybody have any questions coming to mind? Yeah, go ahead, Morgan.
I'm sorry. So the camp that you mentioned, Elton, is that something I can easily Google and find, or do you have a link accessible that we could then send out and share to people?
I'll have to look at it. I'll make sure it didn't go up. But if you look up ECSU Aviation Summer Camp, you should be able to find it. But if you can't, let me know and I'll get the link. I'm just one of the instructors, but I do know I actually gave a virtual one 2 years ago. Last year I had 10 young ladies in there with telos that we actually programmed with a Raspberry Pi, and it took them all week to do it, but I was amazed. I was even tickled my death to see kids do that.
For this, the High School Drone Exploration Academy? Is that
correct?
Excellent.
There should be 2 camps on there for us.
There's the Aviation Career Academy and then
correct.
The Drone Exploration.
And we do make little trips too, like to the Virginia Air and Space. We always go to Wright Brothers Memorial. And then we make a trip out to the airport. And usually, since we have our own airplanes, we can do young educator flights, young Eagles.
Excellent. And there's no cost to these?
And we even put them in a dorm and feed them.
Awesome. That's
I think I was supposed to tell y'all that.
This is something that we tried to promote last year, but by the time Elton and I had connected, I think it was just weeks away, and we were deep in COVID kind of at the time. So I think now, knowing that this is happening and it has happened in the past, if we can continue to get this information out to our members and educators at the high school level, I really, really hope that we can help get more folks out there.
Yeah, no, we'll pass it out to we can also send it to the educators in, the surrounding areas near Elizabeth State. Not that it's only for those people, but obviously, transportation wise, it would make it an easier lift to get to.
And I'm going to say this because it's important, is that you want to get your students, right? What's important? Opportunities, and get them out in front of things that they can actually take advantage of. And ECSU, which we've said this before, is a NC Promise school. Any NC, resident is going to attend ECSU for $500 a semester. So to actually have this opportunity to get these, students on campus in the dorms, seeing what this college life is like, and then go, yeah, that's a goal. I enjoyed that, and I can see myself doing that. I think that's a huge part of what this program is about. Again, it comes back to like what I've learned more than anything over the past, I don't know, 18 months or that we've been doing this, is it's about giving individuals opportunity. And it's not just the students, it's as much the educators. And that's what we've just been doing a really good job. And it's so great to see this mix of folks that continue to join us and want to continue to learn about what's happening in this state with drones.
Paul, let me add one more thing. We recently got approved through FAA as a CBT college. We're one of the last ones to get attached to that. It's really, we're actually going to set the standard for drones throughout all colleges and universities. So we just got connected with that. And then the other thing, we're trying to get a course this summer for law enforcement to come up and do it's a course for 2 days put on by the National NIST, and we're trying to get that done. And actually, I met those guys at the same conference we went to, and I got connected with them. So we're actually trying something with Wayne Bailey on the other side of the state to try to get drones throughout all the elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. Because I've counted, and I know I'm talking to the choir, but I've counted over 300 jobs that drones can do with my research with students in a class. Sky's open.
It's phenomenal. And it's just like one of the biggest things that I've been mentioning. I think it's important for educators to know too, is like automation and how to introduce automation and prepare like students. Some people have this fear, because with my involvement in drone delivery, is the majority of folks are receptive to it. And then you have the few who start talking about, what about all the jobs that's taken away, right? What about all the jobs that are being taken away? But nobody asks how many people we've hired, right? With Causey Aviation Unmanned, in the last 12 months here in the state of North Carolina, we've hired over 20 certified remote pilots to run our 3 distribution centers. And some of those individuals, they weren't certified pilots when they started with us. They were DoorDash drivers. Did they have a job? Sort of. Did it have benefits? No. Was it full-time? No. Was it consistent? No. Did they get paid if they weren't doing orders? No. So did we take someone's job away, or did we give somebody a much more solid means of living? That's the way I kind of like to look at this, is that we are making things easier, but creating jobs at the same time. And when it comes to AI and automation, it's individuals who are less productive, less efficient, and unreliable. Those are the individuals that you're going to find are going to be afraid of automation and are going to be afraid of AI, because those are the people that this could be replacing, right? Those people who are reliable, dependable, getting the job done, they're going to grab automation by the horns, and they're going to say, guess what? Automation just made me better. I could only do 4 things yesterday, but because I automated 2 of them, I can do 6 things today. And that company's going to go, yep, we want to continue to keep that person around, right? So don't be afraid of automation. Grab automation by the horns, right? And do more with it. Appreciate it. And that's, I think, the mentality that we might need to present to our students as we are moving into a period of automation that no one has ever seen in the history of the world. And there are people who are afraid. And then there's people who are becoming lazy because they think automation's going to do it for them. No, we are going to make automation be autonomous. But if we don't make that happen, we don't use it to our advantage, then we will be left behind. And that's just a crazy little, I know I mentioned we would not always focus on drones, but drones can be autonomous, but that's something I wanted to just share with the group, to kind of say, hey, here's something I was thinking about. Bounce this, up here and think about how we could prep our students, because this is the conversation I'm having with my employees, right? Because we're recognizing that some people are fearful that they're going to lose their jobs and others are trying to stay ahead of it. So by being able to discuss this, and bring this kind of thought process into the classroom, I think is going to be beneficial. Any thoughts, questions? No other comments, concerns? I know we're approaching our hour mark here. Again, apologies.
I was just going to say real quick, two things. One, I sent out an email over the weekend about or I heard from some people over the weekend about Students at Work, which is the middle school career awareness program, and Causey Aviation is doing a program on March 22nd at 1:15. And several people, a couple people on this call, I know, excuse me, contacted me and said you want to join. And so I will be sending you more information about how to officially sign up. Right now, you're tentatively signed up, but I have you down, and I'll just get you to go to the right link and then fully register. So I will be following up on that. But if anybody else wants to join, once again, that's on March 22nd at 1:15, Causey Aviation, and your whole classroom can join and hear just a presentation. And Paul, if you want to just give a little blip about what that presentation will be about.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that date, March 22nd, right?
Yes.
March 22nd, we have a live / recorded presentation that we're going to be giving. Causey Aviation Unmanned, leading drone delivery company in the state of North Carolina. And by all counts of our metrics and numbers, leading drone delivery in the United States right now, expanding to the state of Texas in the month of March. So we'll be operational in North Carolina and Texas with plans to expand across the Southeast. But we're going to be putting on a presentation just sharing what it is that we do, where do we do this, and kind of how do we do it. Different members from our company are going to be sharing a little bit about how, STEM, science, technology, engineering, how math and reading, how those things are all important to our job as drone pilots. So it will be really exciting. If you have that monitor screen in your classroom, you'll be able to just log in with that link, and then the students can kind of just even high school students. So all I say is I have high school. Yes, we want both middle school. It's traditionally designed for the middle school level, but because we actually have high schoolers working for us with being 16 and certified, we want the high school students to tune in. But we think it's going to be a phenomenal way to introduce what we're doing here in North Carolina, not just to the schools, because we have pre-apprenticeship programs we've been building in Moore County, Wake County, Cumberland County, Hope County, Scotland County. That's where we're operating. So eventually, Causey Aviation, our history of aviation operations goes back to the 70s here in the state. We'll be coming to an area near you. And eventually we'll have opportunities for your students. So we want folks to join and to have an opportunity to watch, the students to tune in, and then we'll have a little bit of time to answer some questions. I think, you can't hold me to that, but we'll share our contact information, and more than willing to reach out and answer any questions folks might have. But thank you so much, Morgan, for bringing that up.
Mr. Paul, I have a question about, do we have any face-to-face teachers' professional development regarding the aviation?
So as of, we haven't done anything yet face-to-face because we kind of launched in COVID. And the reason we launched was as part of a professional development conference. It's kind of where this was born out of, right, Morgan? And then I know we've had the conversation of with, the way things have headed with COVID-19 and social distancing and mask mandates. We've kicked around the idea, and I'll let Morgan even maybe speak to the potential of maybe something in the future, because we know we have the right people, in this state to help do some in-person stuff. But Morgan, is there any?
Yeah, well, the other day when we talked, you kind of, I have all the notes from where you laid out a great one-day event, a professional development event for teachers this summer. So we just really have to do that next step and find some sponsorship and pick a date and do the sessions and do some planning, because it sounds super fun. And Paul had some great ideas of who to get involved and how to make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's in the works. We want to do it. We want to eventually bring.
Great. Thank you so much. We can
Yes.
learn, that's more and more, interactive. We can see each other, what they're doing,
Yes,
Yeah, that would
we
be awesome.
want to bring this together, and we want to be
Yeah.
able to get in person, because even some of the stuff that Jeff and I have tried to do, and I'm multitasking right now, I'm getting the link to this. One of the things we've tried to do is a lot of like hands-on, like help the
Yes,
teachers
absolutely, sir. Yeah.
do it in the classroom. And I know that if we can get, and wow, the prices went down. Well, you got to add shipping, so right around that. But to get hands-on, and like what takes us 8 hours virtually could take us 1 hour in person. So we do want to have that, and we do want to get professionals directly in front of the educators. So that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking that question, because that lets us know that people are looking for that sort of opportunity. So thank you, Srinivas, for that question. I'm gonna get it, man. I'm telling you, it's I like a challenge. I just sent the link, Malia, or Malia, not sure. But I just sent that link for the book that I said would be step number 1. And that's a link to a book that is on Amazon, comes with 5 free practice tests, but it's a really great starting point for educators and folks wanting to get started. Thanks, TC. You have a good one. We appreciate your support of the NCEUASC and for tuning in today. And then if anyone else had any last questions or any closing thoughts, comments, anything, Elton, any last things you want to just throw out there before we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you all so much. This is a great program for the especially in the special needs. They have so much fun every time a drone go up. I just wanted to say a special thank to Paul. This is a wonderful program.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
It's your participation and hearing
Yes.
those things that
Yes, sir.
really help keep all of us going forward and knowing that we're doing the right thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And our next session is going to be on March, my calendar. I don't know, Morgan, hopefully.
While you're looking at that, Paul, in the future, if any of the teachers would like to would like more information, you can email, you can call me. If you can't do it, you're trying to do a programming with the teller and you can't do it, or you can't get with Paul, you can also call me. I may not have all the answers, but I have enough guys on this campus and young ladies that can help me out.
Absolutely. And that's huge part of why we have the cohort, is because we want everyone to have access to all these different professionals here. And it's funny, I found the date, Morgan. It's March 22nd at 3 p.m. And we're talking about, it's like I knew what was coming up, artificial intelligence and AI. So I think I didn't even realize it, but I was setting the table with my whole artificial intelligence talk for what we're going to dive into. And I'm super excited because we'll talk a little bit about drone delivery, play some videos, explain to you guys the importance of artificial intelligence in that industry. And then we're going to be pulling, some other folks from across North Carolina in to help share about their experience with drones and artificial intelligence. So again, that's March 22nd at 3 p.m. Keep an eye on your inbox for that link. If you have any questions, comments about artificial intelligence and drones, please write those down and bring them to next session, because we want to answer your questions. And if no one else has anything, thank you to all of our members. Thank you to the NCBCE. Thank you, Jeff Epps, who was with us today. Jeff Epps with Steamrolled City. I'm Paul Rossi with 910 Drones, and I appreciate all of you joining. Thank you very much, Morgan. And we will see Morgan Crawford with NCBCE. Thank you, Elton, today, who joined us with ECSU, Elizabeth City State University. And thank you to all of our members. Thank you to Sierra, Emily, also with the NCBC. We appreciate the work you guys are doing to keep us going. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thank you, Paul.